Welcome to Mary's Eclectic Interest. Today I will be presenting how to make crunch top blueberry muffins. I'll be giving you recipe information during the show and also after the show. So let's get started. As you can see, I am doing this from home, and you're probably wondering why those 2 eggs are in water. And they're in water because it was a little bit older eggs, and I was a little worried that they may not be any good. But I had read on the internet, and I've been using this technique where you take the egg and you drop it in a glass of water, and if it goes to the bottom, the eggs are good. So as you can see, these 2 eggs are good, and we can use them in our recipe. So what we have from left to right, I have 2 cups of blueberries. I have 2 cups of wheat flour, and you can also use all-purpose flour, but all I had in my house was wheat flour. And then there's 2/3 cup sugar, and you'll notice that it's brown, and that's because I'm using raw sugar. You can use the regular white sugar. On the far right, there is 1 tablespoon of baking powder is what you're supposed to use. I didn't have any baking powder, so I used a substitute, and my substitute was 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar to 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Then we have 2 eggs. In between the 2 eggs, there's 3/4 cup of milk. In front of the milk, there is 1/2 cup of butter. You can also use margarine, and we will be melting the butter later on. And in the very front, there is 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. The first thing I'm going to do is take that butter and I'm going to melt it in the microwave. And I would suggest that you put a cover on top of your bowl, because when I did this prior for the topping, I didn't do it. And of course, I ended up cleaning that whole microwave before I could get started on this again. While the butter was melting, I thought it might be a good idea to preheat my oven to 400 degrees. And while that is preheating, we're going to get on with making these blueberry muffins. Our butter is now melted, and we are going to the next step. And of course, my next step is that I'm going to crack these eggs and beat them. But as I started moving everything away, I wandered off to find a tablespoon so that I could put 1 tablespoon of flour into the blueberries so that it would coat the blueberries prior to putting them in the blueberry muffins. I thought it might be a good idea to put those 2 eggs back into that bowl before they rolled off and ended up on my kitchen floor, and I ended up cleaning another mess besides the butter exploding in my microwave. And so I am going to, here I come, there's my tablespoon. I'm taking a tablespoon of flour, and I'm putting it in with the blueberries. Oh, I noticed that, my shirt's getting in there. So now what am I doing? Oh, no, I decided not to do that. I'm going to do the eggs. Okay, boy, that's what you can do. You can switch around and do whatever you want. And 1 egg down. And I normally save my eggshells. I like to keep them in a Ziploc bag in my freezer, and then what I do is I crush them all up and I put them around some of my plants in the garden, especially my hostas, because it seems these grubs like to get in there and eat little holes in them. So the eggshells around the hosta helps prevent that. Okay, here you've seen I've whipped those eggs. Now I'm bringing the blueberries out. Oh, just a second. What am I doing? Oh, here we go. 1 tablespoon of flour. And it's in, and shake it all up. And now I'm going to put that back. Oh, see how nice that looks? Now, I have never done that before. Usually I would just take the blueberries and throw them in the batter. I don't know. This seems to work, so I'm going with it. I discovered I made an error there. I was supposed to put in 1 tablespoon of the full mixture, which would have been all the dry ingredients. Okay, I've left to get a mixing bowl to put all the dry ingredients in. I'm back, and here's my mixing bowl. I'm not a very fast baker. I have a tendency to lose concentration and kind of take off somewhere. So I'm sure I'm going off and looking for a wooden spoon or something to mix it with. Let's see what I comes back with. I'm looking at the recipe right now, trying to see what I want to put in there, even though, yep, here we go. I am going to be putting in, combining the flour, the sugar. Go on, throw it in, throw it in. I don't know why I'm hesitating there. Yep, it's in. Yay. Did I put in the baking powder? There's the baking powder. Okay. Well, my substitute baking powder. Now don't forget that salt and nutmeg. Oh, there's my recipe. I want the last of that out of there. I want to make sure those things rise. You can tell I've never made these before. This is an experiment. And here goes the salt and the nutmeg. Now I'm off and running to get another bowl. I'm telling you, I've used just about every bowl in my kitchen. I really like the glass ones because you can see through them and you can see what you're doing. Unfortunately, the one that I'm making the batter in is not a clear bowl. Here's a bowl I thought would work. Oh, no, it's just too large. I'm going to get rid of that one. And I'll come back with another one here in a second. Here we go. Ah, a clear one. So we will be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to be combining. Come back. Come back. Where did I go? Oh, here we go. We're going to be combining the milk. Oops. There's the butter. I have such a little area that I'm working on. I have to take everything over to the sink. And boy, is that dishwasher going to be filled up today. Here I'm coming back, and there goes the eggs. So what it's saying is I'm going to blend that all together, which you can see that I'm doing. And it says I'm supposed to stir in the flour mixture. In other words, take that flour mixture and put it in that bowl. That's not going to work. It's going to be the other way around. I'm going to take that bowl of liquid and put it in the larger bowl with the flour. Now watch, I'm going to have to go and find a spoon or something to blend it with. Let's see what I come back, because I really don't remember what I mixed that together with. And since I'm doing a voiceover, I get to watch myself and add whatever I want to the audio. So, well, I should be back in a second here. Here I come. Okay, when I threw in all of the flour and the sugar and everything, I just kind of threw it in the bowl. So what I'm doing now with the spatula is trying to blend all of those dry ingredients together, and then I'll add the liquid. Oh, I'm trying to show you what's going on, but that is a pretty deep bowl. Here comes the liquid. And as you remember, that is our 3/4 cup of milk, our 1/2 cup of butter or margarine, and our 2 beaten eggs. And in the background, you can see my blueberries. Those are fresh blueberries. It does say in the recipe you can use frozen blueberries, but it says if you do that, do not defrost them first. In other words, don't thaw them. Just use them frozen, but you'll have to increase your baking time, it says, by 10 minutes. Now, I have a tendency to make blueberry muffins with frozen blueberries, but I always put them in the microwave, and I didn't use them frozen. I thought you were supposed to thaw them out. And of course, your blueberry muffins ended up well, the batter and everything became very blue. I do have a lot of frozen blueberries because when they're in season, I purchase them and wash them all up. And then I'll take my cookie sheets and just lay them across the cookie sheets. And I sometimes I'll have 4 cookie sheets in there. Then when they're frozen, I just take what do you want, a spatula or something, and just get them all off there and put them in Ziploc bags so they don't stick together. They'll come out one at a time or several at a time. They're not a big clunk. And by doing that and spreading them over a cookie sheet, it works out just wonderful for any kind of recipe, or if you just want to put them in what I call a skinny shake or a shake. That way you don't have to use ice cubes either if all of your fruit is frozen in those skinny shakes. All right, here's what our batter looks like. I'm trying to show you the batter without getting my body in there, which is rather difficult because I'm doing this on top of my little freezer. I don't have a very big house. It's what you would call a tiny house. There's 2 ways you can do your muffin tins. I happen to like using the cupcake paper liners. Otherwise, you can grease each one of those little grease your muffin tins and do it that way. If you decide you want to freeze your blueberry muffins, which a lot of times I do, take off the paper liners, because when you defrost your muffin, it's very difficult to get those liners off. It's really messy. So take them off before you freeze your muffins. As you can see, I'm getting that blueberry muffin mix all the way to the top of the cupcake holder. And in the end, I'm going to be making 12 muffins. So this is going to take quite a while. A little interesting trivia fact that I am filming this during the COVID epidemic. And I am at the studio at CCX. This is where we do all of our editing, or I do, I should say, but most of us editing. And this is where I'm doing the voiceover. So I'm doing the voiceover with a mask. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I'm not getting any saliva on the microphone. I also filmed this with a DJI pocket camera. So I'm not quite sure how the quality is going to transfer over to a television or a large television. It'll be fine on the internet or the smaller devices. And then I had another camera that I was using, a camera that I've had, since probably 2010, if not earlier. And that also I can take, I'm going to say moving pictures or digital film. And that one, the quality wasn't quite as good. The problem is with the other camera, you'll see it, I have a strap that went in front of it. And so everything in the background is out of focus. And that was my fault because the little camera's strap that I normally use when I'm running around filming, I should have taken that off. But that's life. I don't know what everybody else has been doing during this epidemic. I have been catching up on a lot of projects that I really didn't want to do. And I think some of you know what I'm talking about. I was in the garage the other day, and that might be a film somebody's going to be seeing, measuring out 3 containers of screws. They're all just thrown in these buckets. And what can I say? Every time I want something, I have to empty them all out to try and find it. So I'm in the process of doing the links, and then I'm going to do if they're a 6 or an 8 or a 10 or whatever they are. I've already spent 3 hours on that and gotten nowhere. It just is so slow. But I've done a few other things. As other people, you're going to see some shows that I've been doing jigsaw puzzles. And I think a lot of us are doing those now. And what I want to try to do is some alternate art with that. And I'm hoping to get that filmed. I have started filming. I did the puzzles. I didn't film myself doing the whole thing Because let's just face it, that's pretty boring. So what I'm just showing is the different kind of puzzles, and in the end, what I'm hoping to do with it. In other words, I want to take that puzzle and make something totally different out of it. Another thing that I'm doing is, because of COVID, I'm going to end up doing my own shows. Usually I had guests and I had a host and I was in the background. I would do the directing and the editing, and or I'd have somebody come in and direct, and I might work on the sound aspects and just plain running around. But what I miss is when I have my guests and I have the crew and we have the employees here at CCX. It would be food day. I would bring in food. I would bring in a certain kind of salad everybody liked, or sloppy joes. So some of these things are going to be coming into my cooking, different things that I'm going to cook at home. And so you're going to see some of my favorite recipes. And as you notice, I don't like to be on film. I'm filming me kind of out there. I don't want to be on film. So I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do that, if I'm going to put on a wig or a certain outfit and completely change my appearance so that you won't recognize me on the street. And I'm just very shy in front of the camera. I never considered myself one to be in front of the camera. I always wanted to play with all of the technology behind the camera. Looks like we're getting our blueberry muffin tins filled. And let's see if I can speed this up a little bit, because that's pretty boring watching me do that all the time, isn't it? Just filling up those muffin tins. So here we go. We're going to double up the time. Oh, there we go. Faster, faster, faster. And I might have to make it even faster than that. As you can see, I'm taking the remainder of the batter in the bowl and topping off all of those blueberry muffins. If I had a third muffin tin, what I could do is put in a couple of paper liners and then fill those with the batter. The remaining empty slots, I would put water in, and then I could put that particular muffin tin in along with the other two. If I remember correctly, the water helps generate the same temperature throughout that muffin tin, and so that those slots that were empty aren't going to get excessively hot. Okay, this is the very bad video that I did. As I had mentioned before, that cord had come down. I had brought it back up and didn't realize that it had fallen back down again. So everything is out of focus. So what I'm using are a couple of freeze frames, and then I'll walk you through the topping. What we have from left to right is 1/2 cup uncooked rolled oats, 1/4 cup packed brown sugar, 1/2 cup all wheat flour. You can also use all-purpose flour, and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And we also have 1/4 cup of butter, which will be softened. In a medium bowl, combine your rolled oats, your flour, brown sugar, and the 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Use your fork to mix those dry ingredients up a little bit prior to putting in your softened butter or margarine. So once you get that softened butter in, then you can mix it, and it'll become rather crumbly. Okay, here's a freeze frame photo I have of the crunch topping. So at least you can see what it looks like. Okay, now we're going to be putting our crunch topping on top of our blueberry muffin. And as you can see, there's not much room for very much topping, which is okay with me. I'd rather have the blueberry muffin. I actually had so much crunch topping left over that I would probably advise everybody to make half of that recipe. Or if you're going to make another dozen muffins, you wouldn't have to make more crunch topping. And in actuality, because these muffins did go rather quickly, I might be making some more of those. The remainder of the crunch topping is in my refrigerator, and this will cut down some of my work. I will just use my leftover crunch topping. When I'm finished putting the topping on, I'll be placing this in my oven at 400 degrees for approximately 20 to 25 minutes, or until a wooden toothpick inserted in the center of your muffin comes out clean. And the reason I'm cutting down on the time element is that these blueberry muffins are supposed to be put in 4-inch muffin cups. They're supposed to be what they call large, or probably twice as big as these muffins. And as you can see, I used the smaller muffin tins, or what most of us would have in our kitchen are these size muffin tins. Most of us don't have those 4-inch ones, and I certainly wasn't going to go out and purchase them. So in the next few seconds here, I'll show you how much of this topping I have. Look at all of that topping that's left over. So I ended up doing a dozen muffins, which are fine. I don't need to eat a huge muffin, and this worked out just great for me. Well, here's our muffins. They're straight out of the oven, and I've put them on a cooling rack. And I'm going to leave them there for a second, and I'm going to show you what these muffins look like. Now it's time for the taste test. Here comes the plate. And I'm selecting my muffin, bringing it over. And let's see what it looks like when you slice into it. And here I come with the knife, and I'm slicing into it. I'm going to be peeling back that paper a little bit. And another thing that you might like to know is I kind of cheated on those blueberries. It was only supposed to be 1.5 cups, but I like my blueberry muffins blueberry, so I put in an extra 1/2 cup. In other words, I like the batter to hold the blueberries in. Now that may not be something you enjoy, and you might want to cut that down to 1.5 cups of blueberries instead. This blueberry muffin recipe was so good that I plan on throwing out my other recipes and just using this one. I'm looking forward to making another batch. You'll notice that I added a little pat of butter on this nice warm blueberry muffin, and I don't normally do that, but it was right out of the oven. I just had to. I don't care. It's comfort food, and I only did it to one muffin, so I'm going to give myself an A for self-control and not doing it to all 12. Thank you for watching Mary's Eclectic Interests. Following will be the full recipe for the Crunch Top Blueberry Muffins. The ingredients needed for the muffins are 2 cups of blueberries, or 1.5 cup if you don't like as many blueberries as I do. 2 cups of whole wheat flour or all-purpose flour, 2/3 cups of sugar, 1 tablespoon baking powder, 2 eggs beaten, 3/4 cups of milk, 1/2 cup butter or margarine melted, 1/2 teaspoon salt, and 1/2 teaspoon ground nutmeg. In a large bowl, combine the following: flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, and nutmeg. Take 1 tablespoon of the flour mixture and add it to the blueberries, tossing the blueberries to coat them. In a small bowl, combine the following: 3/4 cup milk, 1/2 cup butter or margarine melted, and the 2 beaten eggs. Mix the wet ingredients with the flour mixture until moistened. Then you can fold in your blueberries. Grease or paper line your muffin cups. I used your regular size muffin cups, and I ended up with 12 muffins. If you decide to use the 4-inch muffin cups, you'll be getting 6 giant muffins. This would be a great time to preheat your oven to 400 degrees prior to making the topping, the crunch topping. In a medium bowl, combine the following until the mixture is crumbly: 1/2 cup uncooked rolled oats, 1/4 cup packed brown sugar, 1/2 cup wheat flour or all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, and 1/2 cup of softened butter or margarine. And this mixture will go on the top of your muffins. According to the recipe, they suggest that you do the crunch topping first. To me, it doesn't really make any difference. It would be up to whoever's baking and their preferences. Finally, we're at the end, and here's some further baking instructions. I know this seems repetitive, but I'm going to repeat it. You're going to be baking at 400 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes, or until a wooden toothpick inserted in the center of your muffin comes out clean. I hope you enjoy your crunch top blueberry muffins. This is Mary signing off. Until next time.